Children, elderly, pretty much all citizens are struggling to breathe in the national capital, choking once again this year on pollution. The pollution today was in the severe category. The air quality hit the severe category for the second straight day, proving that the governments are failing repeatedly to curb this pollution, despite the Supreme Court stepping in and giving very, very clear instructions to individual state governments as well as the centre. Today again, the top court stepped in and said that whole of North India and the NCR is suffering. The Supreme Court observed that very little efforts have been made by government and other stakeholders. I mean, what could be more embarrassing for state governments, for chief ministers and other ministers in our country, than to be pulled up and lamented like this every single week by the top court. The Supreme Court has now asked the Delhi government to provide data on the impact of odd even, has told the government to assess feasibility of hydrogen-based fuel technologies. So while they're looking into these deeper solutions, fact of the matter is, and let me remind you that last week the Supreme Court had very, very tough warnings for all state governments. They told the Punjab Chief Secretary there is nothing that was going to stop us from suspending you if you don't do your work. Within a week, come back to us and tell us what your plan is. They told the AAP representative, the AAP government representative, they tell your chief minister, we can take action against him too. Now, our reporters have exposed how multiple governments have defied the Supreme Court order on stubble burning, because stubble burning continues unabated. And we've actually collated visuals of the last 1 week. And we'll show you how day after day after day, in thousands of places, stubble burning in Punjab and Haryana and other neighbouring states of Delhi, stubble burning continues. Supreme Court had questioned Kejriwal government even on the odd-even scheme, asking what is the impact of this. Simply speaking, we don't know what the implementation of odd-even has done, even though many citizens believe this is helping, even though the government is considering extending odd-even. The impact is unclear so far. What else? Supreme Court had given directions to stop stubble burning. That's not happened at all in Punjab or Haryana or Uttar Pradesh. There was supposed to be a ban on construction activities, but this ban is time-bound and doesn't seem to be helping enough. Mechanical sweeping was supposed to be done, but it's only being done in a few areas. There's a ban on open burning of waste. Incineration continues, as many reports suggest. What do we do? Should we start now suspending babus and state government officials? Should we start sending ministers and chief ministers to jail? What will it take for our governments to wake up, to stop bickering, to stop indulging in blame game, start actually saving your lives? Jasmine Shah, spokesperson for the Aam Aadmi Party, joins us this evening. Harish Khurana, spokesperson for the BJP. Jayadhar Gupta, environmentalist. Ira Trivedi, an author. Citizen Voice. Anita Bhargava, co-founder for Care for Air, joins us this evening. We'll also have a spokesperson of Congress Party with us shortly. But I actually want to start with Ira Trivedi. Ira, we understand, and I'm based out of Mumbai, but I spoke to many of my relatives and friends and colleagues and read a lot of what was being said on Twitter. We understand things were really bad last night. People were even struggling to breathe inside their own homes.
It's really scary, actually. Inside our homes, there's a haze. So even from when you're walking around your house, you can see a sort of smog inside the house. The eyes burn, the skin feels itchy. This is all happening inside the house. And in fact, one feels like they're under house arrest because you want to be in that one room where you have purchased an air purifier, and that's where you're just sitting the whole day. Many, many people are not sending their children to school. Most parents have canceled their kids' classes if they have any football games or any playing. Every parent has prohibited their child from being outside, which is completely unnatural. It's completely unnatural. It's a very sorry state of affairs here. And let me tell you, as a resident of New Delhi, that odd and even is having no effect. If anything, it's just inconveniencing citizens of Delhi, because many people don't have two cars with one odd, even, one number, and it's very inconvenient to be able to then find alternate transportation. With Uber and Ola, the fares are going up. We're paying double, triple than what we're usually supposed to be paying. It's a pain. It really has become a problem. So I really don't think that the government is taking any solutions. And let me tell you, as a long-time resident of Delhi, this is a scary situation. This is a very scary situation. And frankly, I and many other people around me, we're all afraid of what's going to happen.
Well, we're just telling our viewers that the fact is that again, for the second time this year, and it's, it's just November. We've not even hit peak winter season right now. Schools have had to be shut down because it is not advisable for children to even step out of their own homes. So the Delhi government has decided to shut the schools again. Now, if I can go across to Jaydar Gupta, who's, sitting in our Noida studios. Jaydar, I'm not able to completely read what's written on your shirt, but I think it says, is this air that you are breathing? Yes.
That's correct. That's correct, Tanvi. That's exactly what it says. It is an appalling state of affairs. I mean, I'm just even amazed that these ministers have come out of the air purified rooms to be on this panel, because it's absolutely shameful. I say failed governance, failed government, absolute lack of emergency response. I want to ask these gentlemen that are here on this panel, what is the role of government? If there is an emergency in your city, and we have been in a state of emergency since the night of Diwali, since the 27th. So we've been 17 days, we've been in a state of emergency. I want to know, why has nobody owned the problem? And it's not just Delhi, about 600 to 700 million people across the Indo-Gangetic Plain. This is one of the most densely populated, areas in the world. Nobody has owned the problem. I mean, this is absolutely shocking. I want to hear from these gentlemen. Do you guys have a role? Do you think you have a role? And Mr. Shah, please don't tell me that your role was to do odd and even. This is the third time you're doing it. We have no measurable results from the last two times. I mean, I commend you for doing something at least, but it's obviously not enough.
Just inconveniencing.
3 times, I mean, you're telling us again and again, you're just going to keep trying the same thing again and again when it doesn't move the needle. It makes no sense at all. I just want to get the facts on the table. For my central government, you own the whole paddy burning problem. This has been happening for 6 years. We've seen no solution at all, and no commitment to the problem, no commitment to solve the problem. Let me just tell you, 3,000 crores solves the problem. And the cost of healthcare for these 600 or 700 million people, that's going to run into trillions of dollars, okay? Your $5 trillion economy, it's going up in smoke as we speak, all right? Let me be very clear. Mr. Shah, 94% of my pollution that I inhale every year living in Delhi is from local emissions in Delhi. Now tell me what you've done about it other than odd and even. I want to hear from these two gentlemen, and then I'm going to tell you the solution at the end of it.
Okay.
Because their egos are too big to talk to experts or to anybody to get a solution. I want to hear from them.
Well,
first.
that, is the unfortunate reality, Jaydar, of many governments in our country, many states in our country. We have the experts, we have the expertise, but who would listen to them and actually do some constructive work? But let the politicians respond to you. And Mr. Shah, let's begin with you, and then I will go to Harish Khurana. Go ahead.
I think there are two kinds of responses and solutions that are being spoken today. One are emergency measures, and the other are the long-term solutions. We all, I am sure, agree that both of them are necessary. Some questions have been raised on odd even, so first let me address that. There has, and I think it should not become a convenient thing to ignore facts and research that exists. On odd even, two very credible independent groups, one a study led by IIT professors and another a study led by University of Chicago and Harvard professors, have studied and found that odd even when conducted in winter months, because there the local sources do matter because the pollution doesn't disperse, reduces. Can I finish, Jaydar? I did not interrupt you, so please allow me the courtesy to make my point. So it says, the data shows that anywhere between 10 to 15%
I've done this too many times, Mr. Shah. I've done this
during the time odd even is active. Now I'm not saying that this is no. Can I finish? Are we having a civil discussion? Are we having a civil discussion? Can I just make my point?
No, we're
so
not.
All I'm saying
no,
is that
we're
this
not.
is
I'm
only
sorry.
a
We're not
temporary
having a civil
measure.
discussion.
No, by
Time
no means
for
we are
civility
saying
is over. You guys have failed. You are a failure, Mr. Shah. Your government is a failure.
Fantastic.
I'm sorry.
That's fantastic. Okay, great.
This is no time for civility.
Now let's come to the long-term
17 days in a public health emergency. You want me to be civil? It's not great, Mr. Shah. You're
This
going into
is
an
a
election.
regional and a
Look
national
at you.
crisis.
You
So
have
let's now
failed.
attack the root at the problem. This is a national crisis and a regional plan, and we do
Stop
not
stop
have any kind of a
shifting the
regional
blame.
plan. The
Stop
environment
shifting
minister
the
has
blame.
still
You've
not
done
called
nothing.
a meeting.
You've
We
done
don't
nothing.
have any multi-state plan. No, I'm not. You are not the moderator. Please let me just make my points. You're not allowing me to even make any points. Then let's not have this
I am
debate.
the citizen. I am the voter.
We don't have a
I'm
regional
sorry.
plan. Let's
I am
acknowledge
your
that.
boss.
We do
I have
not have a
elected you.
regional
I have
airshed
voted
plan.
for you. Listen to me. Please listen to me. There are people in your city who have solutions.
I want to make the point
Talk to
that
them,
as far
please.
as long-term solutions
Okay,
are
okay,
concerned,
so Mr. Jayadhar Gupta, point well made, and Jasmine Shah, you have to understand this. This is not about being civil on a debate. Civility will be shown on a debate, but there is anger among citizens tonight, and you have to acknowledge that and understand it. Because if you continue to just simply think that this is normal routine debate conversation that we have year after year after year on the Delhi pollution, then that's not it.
You can't allow the other person to talk.
Really?
Now finish your point,
No,
but
it's
answer the
not.
specific
You are just
question.
wasting your
What
time,
is
Mr.
it?
Shah.
What is
You have
it
not said
that the
anything
AAP
intelligent.
government has done?
My-
Please answer on the specific point that has been put across by our citizen voices tonight.
So let me allow, I will make that.
Yes.
And give me 30 seconds to respond on what the AAP government has done.
Yes.
Okay? Over the last 3-4 years, there have been multiple actions that the AAP government has taken to control the local sources of pollution, while at the same time demanding a regional action on the same sources, which has not been forthcoming. What are these? First and foremost, Delhi government has provided 24/7 electricity. You hardly see gensets running in Delhi. You do not have that situation in the rest of NCR, where entire colonies and sectors are run on gensets. Second, we have shut down our thermal power plants. We can't say the same of NCR. Third, 95% of our industries today have moved from polluting fuels to PNG, pipe natural gas. Whereas if you look at the larger NCR, you still have a lot of polluting industries.
Yes.
So why is it that only a area which is 3% of the landmass of NCR has to do everything, while there is just no pressure on the governments around us? This is a regional issue.
Who is saying there is no pressure on the governments around you?
Issue.
Who is saying that there is no pressure on the governments around you?
All affects it.
Answer for yourself. Please don't indulge in a blame game
Well,
tonight.
we see the
That's
reality.
not the point.
Crop
You have
burning.
shut down the industries only after repeated reminders
not
from
a blame game.
tribunals, from the Green Tribunal, from the courts in this country. No government has taken a single step by their own, on their own. Everything has been reminded repeatedly by the courts of this country.
No,
Let's be very clear about that, Mr. Shah.
95% of our industries have transitioned.
Can I come in here for a second?
95% of our industries have shifted to PNG, and that is because of state initiative.
Yes, Ira, go ahead, please. And then I want to go across
Mr.
to
Shah,
Anita
it is not
Bhargava. But Ira
enough.
Trivedi wants to make a point. Yes.
5 years in a row. 5 years in a row.
Every single year, the situation is the same. The same, it gets worse every year. We know the day after Diwali this is going to happen. Parents are not able to send their kids to school. Little children are growing up with chronic asthma. And we as adults don't even know what's happening in our lungs. 15 years from today, there'll be some sort of a huge cancer upsurge because of the terrible air that we're breathing. And we're all paying taxes. This is supposed to be part of what we're doing by paying taxes, and we don't even get clean air.
Yes.
And how is the situation improving year after year? There's no repercussion. There's absolutely nothing being done. And there are remedies. Beijing has gone through a very similar situation as Delhi. I've written about this extensively. The government can take measures. They can actually induce rainfall. And that immediately brings down the level of pollution, but they're not doing that. There's, odd and even is the easiest thing to do because that's a citizen's duty then.
Yes.
It's up to every single individual, and if you don't follow the rule, then you're fined, right? So it's easy enough to say, hey guys, don't get in your car today, pay for an Uber or an Ola and suffer even more expenses.
And look at the fact that, the odd even this time has seen such a high level of compliance, which should actually be a slap in the face of these governments, because you have failed to do their job. Citizens are now taking the onus of whatever little they can do. But that doesn't absolve the AAP government, the BJP government in Haryana, the Congress government in Punjab, the BJP government in Uttar Pradesh or Rajasthan from doing their job. Now, Harish Khurana, I see your hand, but I want to first go across to Anita Bhargav and ask her this question.
And this is not
if
a
the Delhi
political
government,
situation.
Anita Bhargav, is claiming that they have taken all of these steps.
This is a national crisis.
Yes.
It's not a political situation.
It is not, but unfortunately, the governments are not doing the job. Anita Bhargav, is the Delhi government doing enough? We will go to the neighboring states in just a bit and we will ask Harish Khurana that question. But respond to what Mr. Shah is saying on behalf of AAP.
I don't believe anyone is doing enough. And actually, at Care for Air, we've been giving the same suggestion, the same message year after year. We need one single person of cabinet rank under the Prime Minister. And this person should have no other responsibility other than to deliver air quality of PM 2.5 of less than 100 within 1 year. So this person needs to be passionate about solving the problem and also needs to be capable. And he or she will bring about national consensus and, have sustainable systems in place. So, he can use persuasion, heavy fines, whatever it is to produce real outcomes rather than all this, blaming each other kind of stuff. And while I know that this is difficult under a federal structure, other countries have solved this. Ira just mentioned Beijing has solved the problem. How difficult can it be to learn from the others and adapt? So this CEO of Clean Air, I'm going to call him or her the CEO of Clean Air, will attract the right talent to address the problem. This talent could be from India, it could be from overseas, anybody. Nandan did this for Aadhaar. We can definitely get this done for Clean Air. And, what I would actually request all TV channels, print media, television, social media, citizens groups, all to unite with a common demand. And this demand should be that we want the CEO for Clean Air in place within the next 30 days. I'd like to thank Mirror Now for inviting me on this channel to give this message. But I hope that as a channel, you will champion the cause of getting this cabinet minister in place. Because if we don't, what I'm concerned about is next year we will have the same debates, exactly the same stuff, and we'll be poisoning our kids and our, ourselves. And this is having an effect on, an economic effect, health effect on the citizens. And, we're just doing things, we're reacting in a knee-jerk fashion every time we have a crisis. And, we can
I agree with you. And we would, Anita, we would stand for such a cause completely and wholeheartedly.
Absolutely.
But unfortunately, I don't know if the governments, even the central government, will take this seriously. Maybe maybe the courts take cognizance of this and then give an instruction to the government to take such a step. Because unfortunately, in this country, environment and health, people's health, air pollution is never a political agenda, is never an election agenda. Maybe because we as citizens don't make it the agenda. And so political parties don't care about it. It barely makes it to the manifesto. Even if it does, they forget about it the minute they come to power. That's how lightly they take it. Mr. Harish Khurana, please explain to me, why is it that stubble burning continues unabated in states that are even governed by the BJP?
Tanvi, first of all, you're lucky enough and sitting in Mumbai and debating for Delhi. You should understand you should come down to Delhi and see what is happening in Delhi. Leave it. I was listening to, first of all, I want to react what Aam Aadmi Party spokesman was saying about the studies which have been done.
No, Mr. Khurana, please don't. Please talk about what you've done.
Let me complete.
No, we don't want any
let me complete.
Don't kick
Let
the
me
ball
complete.
around.
Let me complete. I've started thinking, why are you interfering?
There's nothing to
Why
complete.
are you interfering? Why are you interfering?
The blame.
Harish Khurana, calm down. Harish Khurana, calm down.
I don't want to see this again.
Harish Khurana, calm down, and I think all political party representatives have to show some amount of patience to listen to the people who vote.
What is the way?
Calm down, Harish Khurana.
This is the way.
This is the way for people who are choking in the national capital because of political parties like yours.
You should know.
So don't you dare raise your voice on them. Harish Khurana.
Listen, I'm
No, government,
Are you
BJP,
Mr. Khurana?
Aam Aadmi
Are you-
Party and the
I'm also
Congress
doing
have
the same
failed to
here.
do their jobs
I'm also doing the
successively
same
year
here.
after year after year.
I'm also
How
doing
dare
the
you
same
raise
here.
your voice on people
No,
who are
nobody.
simply asking you,
Why are you
what
calling
have
us
you
then?
done to
Why are you
reduce
calling us
pollution?
then?
Harish
Why are
Khurana,
you
I'm not
calling
going to
us
have
then?
this yelling
What
match,
have you
please.
done?
It's a gentleman
Talk
who
about
don't
what
want to
you've done.
listen.
Calm down and give a proper answer. We are not
No.
going to have a yelling match here. I don't want any theatrics on this show, please.
I started speaking up and he's
Okay.
starting cutting.
Respond. But please show some respect to citizens who are
My only
choking
point is,
in the national
my only
capital
point
because
is,
of the failure
let me
of the
understand.
governments.
Let me understand. No.
You are responsible.
Listen,
Your party,
the
the
air what
minister
he
sitting
breathes,
in
I
air
also breathe the
purified
same air.
rooms, spending lakhs of taxpayers' money on
No,
buying
it's
air
not my
purifiers
party.
so
It's
that you
not
can
my
have a
party.
protected
It's
environment,
not my
should
party.
at least show the courtesy to the Aam Aadmi and
Who
listen
I'm not
to
here
them.
is it then?
I'm not here to listen all this bullshit. What is happening in?
I'm sorry.
I'm not here to all this bullshit. Sorry.
Then you are
Listen
by
to
all
me if you want to
means,
listen.
by all
Listen.
means, then you
Otherwise,
can
don't talk
leave.
to
me. What are you
me.
here
I will
for?
not have this kind of yelling or this kind of language being used
You're
on
not
my
ready
show.
to listen. You're not ready to listen.
Kindly,
You
please
are not ready
have a
to listen
control
me.
on the language that you're using on
I
this
have
show.
started at just line one
No,
line.
Do
we
you
are
know
not.
what the
Tanvi, this is not
AQI
done.
level today is, Mr.
No,
Khurana, in the
Tanvi,
national
let
capital?
me complete then.
I
have
don't
a
need
full
to
right
remind you, sitting in
I have
Mumbai, what the
Please don't
AQI
call me
levels
then.
are in the
Please
national
don't call
capital.
me.
Can we get
Please
rid of the
don't call me.
pollution from this panel?
Take a deep breath
Please
and
don't call
respond
me.
to the
Please
question
don't
that
call
has
me.
been asked.
But
Now,
you don't
Harish
have
Khurana,
this gentleman,
take a deep breath and
this
respond to the
gentleman
question that is
has
being asked.
started speaking. He's entering into between that.
Answer the question.
No, he should listen me first.
Answer the question.
I was listening to. I have a full right to contradict what Aam Aadmi
Stop
Party has just
losing
said.
it, sir.
No, first
Tell
you
us
will
what
answer
you
my
have
question.
done.
Contradict that.
No, of course, Mr. Harish
Oh,
Khurana,
God.
you can contradict
We
the
are
Aam
not
Aadmi
interested
Party,
to hear
which is
that,
your
sir.
job,
From you. I
because
want to
you are a
explain what I-
political representative. 1 minute, please, Jayadar, 1 minute. But
This
first
is
you
a
have to answer
report.
my question.
Listen,
What is the
Tanvi.
state of Haryana and
Listen,
Uttar Pradesh
Tanvi.
and Rajasthan done to curb stubble burning? Please tell me, what has Mr. Khattar in his second term done to curb stubble burning? Elections
Let
are
me
over.
complete then.
Yes, tell me.
Let me complete then. Let me listen to me carefully. Listen to me. Listen to me. First of all, we should now understand what the reason of Delhi pollution is.
No, we all
Stubble
know by
burning
now.
is
We've
just
been
one of the
debating this
causes.
for years
And
together.
I'm not saying this.
Oh,
Please don't
God.
teach us that.
Tanvi,
Answer my
don't
question.
interfere.
I don't want to
Tanvi,
understand the
Tanvi,
reasons
let me
from you.
complete it.
Everybody has
This is
done a
not
PhD
done.
in the reasons
This
for
is not
pollution
done.
for national capital by
This
now.
is not done. This is not done.
No. Please don't waste my time.
Painful.
Answer
And
my
please
question.
don't tell me.
Answer my question.
I have taken a birth over here and I know what the causes are. This
So
is
does
not,
everybody
not
else living
me
in the
stating
national
that.
capital
This
and
is
everybody else
EPCA
watching this
chairman what
channel
I said today
for the
only.
last many months.
EPCA chairman, Tanvi, listen. Tanvi, listen. Tanvi, listen now. Listen now. This EPCA chairman has said only today only. This is a statement which has come in the national newspaper today. What he said, according to him, it does not have any effect. However, it's a share in comparison to local sources of pollution is much less. When you talk about stubble burning, I agree, stubble burning is one of the causes, but not the only cause. One of the major causes are emission. Emission, what we are getting from the four-wheelers and two-wheelers. One of the major reason is industrial pollution. We should understand that thing. I'll give you one more data. I speak only with data. This is a last year report. Same date, today same date. Last year, the same on 4th of November, the pollution of PM 2.5 was 33.98, which has gone in on 4th November 2019 to 442. And today, 13 November, the last year data was 334. And today it's 377. Madam, if only the stubble burning is the cause, we are seeing stubble burning since last many years.
Yes.
Why does it not come down?
No.
Whatever the
So,
step Aam
okay.
Aadmi Party
I will
has
answer
taken.
you. I will answer you.
This is a
The
data.
stubble
I'm
burning,
not saying
the
this.
stubble burning for
Tanvi.
the last many years has significantly increased because of bad policies by successive governments. Because you have changed the farming pattern.
Yes, it has
The
increased.
produce that is
Yes,
now being
increased.
grown, which is why stubble burning has gone
Yes,
up.
it has
So
increased,
firstly,
Tanvi.
please admit that the fault begins with the governments again,
Tanvi.
with successive state governments again. Because of your bad policies,
Tanvi,
I am having to breathe this air today because you did not have the foresight to plan for this situation. Now that you have
Tanvi,
told us exactly what contributes to the
said,
Delhi pollution,
what I
although
said,
nobody
what
is
I
giving this
said.
answer to the Supreme Court even
Tanvi.
now, and multiple different kinds of reports are going to the Supreme Court, answer my question. What have you done in the various states neighboring Delhi to
Tanvi,
stop stubble burning?
Tanvi.
Please tell me.
Listen, listen.
He's going to
Listen
waste
now.
everybody's time.
What I said one of the causes. I said not the
So
only
what is the
causes.
solution for that cause?
20% of the total.
What is the
total
solution
pollution
for that
is
cause,
coming
Mr.
from
Harish
stubble
Khurana?
burning. What
Stop
about
pointing
80%?
fingers at
What
the
about
other side.
80%?
Tell me
Mr.
what you
Khurana,
have done.
we know that.
Tell me
Move
what you
on.
have done.
Move on.
Tell me what you have
We
done.
have
Stop
solution.
pointing fingers at
You
others.
should also ask. Who is Jared? Listen,
Tanvi,
listen.
may I just-
We have listening since last 5 years. Smoke-free towers are coming. Where are those? We are listening since last 5 years. Electric buses are coming. Where are these? We have listening since last 5 years about
What are
smoke-free
you talking
towers.
about,
Where
Mr.
are these?
Khurana?
I'm
What are
asking
you
from the
talking
government
about?
of Delhi. I'm asking from the others.
But
What are you
we are
talking about?
asking from the central government,
Has
sir.
your-
आपने
has
क्या
Amit
किया?
Kejriwal not
You
promised
please
last year?
focus on what you have done. सर उनका तो मैंने सर ऑलरेडी फोड़ दिया है. अब आप बताइए आपने क्या किया है?
Who has
What have
given
you
the
done?
machines? The peripherals, eastern.
It has not worked.
Now listen.
It has not
Eastern,
worked.
western peripheral.
It has not worked.
Who had made that?
Look
Who had made
look
that?
outside your
Who had
window.
made that? You
Look
have made
at
that?
look
You have
outside
made
your
that?
window.
May-
All of
may I
Punjab
please-
is
You
on,
have
all
made
of
that?
Haryana is on fire.
This is
80,000
ridiculous.
buses,
This is
80,000
really ridiculous.
trucks.
The
Don't
response
laugh.
that given to us
80,000
is that
trucks
we have
come to
released
Delhi.
the funds,
Who has made
we have
this?
given the
Who has made
machines.
this?
Country.
Just next door
This is the
to Delhi, in Noida,
This
Mr.
is the
Harish Khurana, if
leadership
you
of the
don't know,
country.
stubble burning is
Shameful.
happening even as we
Shameful.
speak.
80,000
Our
trucks
reporter was
used to
standing
come
there
daily.
yesterday in the morning and
Tanvi,
bringing
can I
us
come in
reports
here, please?
of how stubble is being burnt in Noida. You can't even stop that much. I don't know what Adityanath government is doing. I don't know what Khattar government is doing. Giving machines is of no use when it's not being used on ground. When these are the visuals that are coming to us day after day after day, and you will see in this entire sequence, we have visuals from every single day in the last 10 days. This is adding to Delhi's pollution. So let me ask Kamaljeet Singh Barar, spokesperson for the Congress party, joining us this evening. Mr. Barar, this is not a new problem. Why is it that the Punjab government is unable to crack down? 40,000 cases of stubble burning reported. What's going on?
देखिए जी प्लीज आप अपना सवाल दोबारा रिपीट करेंगे?
जी कमलजीत सिंह बरार जी, मेरा सवाल ये है कि क्या सरकार, आपकी सरकार कर क्या रही है? हजारों केसेस आ रहे हैं स्टबल बर्निंग के पंजाब से. क्या होना चाहिए नॉर्थ इंडिया के लोगों को कि आपकी सरकार जाग जाए और अपना काम करे?
अच्छा, अब आपने सवाल पूछ लिया है, आप सुन लेना प्लीज, बीच में मत टोकना, क्योंकि कई बार मैंने काफी देर से मैं देख रहा हूँ किसी की बात सुनी नहीं जा रही है, जबरदस्ती अपनी बात सुनाई जा रही है.
आप लेक्चर ना दें, आप बस जवाब दे दें.
ले लेना प्लीज, आप बोलना नहीं. पहली बात, आप
जवाब दीजिएगा सर.
पंजाब की सरकार की आप बात कर रहे हैं, पंजाब की बात करते हैं
जी.
एक होता है एयर क्वालिटी इंडेक्स होता है, वो जब 0 से 50 तक नॉर्मल रेंज है उसकी, एयर क्वालिटी इंडेक्स की बात कर रहा हूँ, और 400 से 300 से 350 तक वो खतरे के निशान पर चला जाता है, और दिवाली की रात से 1100 पे था. आप इसका अंदाजा लगा सकते हो. हम पंजाब के रहने वाले हैं, बेशक पंजाब में भी पोल्यूशन बहुत है, ये नहीं कि दिल्ली में पंजाब में नहीं है, पंजाब में भी है, हरियाणा में भी है, और उसका कारण गवर्नमेंट को, किसान को नहीं कह सकते, क्योंकि लोग दिवाली की रात, गुरुपर्व की रात बहुत ज्यादा पोल्यूशन फैलाते हैं क्रैकर्स की वजह से, और ये बात हमें भी सोचनी होगी. हम सरकार की बात करते हैं. दूसरी बात, पंजाब जब चावल खाता नहीं है, पंजाब को चावल उगाने का क्यों कहा जाता है? क्यों फसल नहीं बदली जाती किसानों की? देश के किसान ने राष्ट्र का पेट भरा है, राष्ट्र की भी ड्यूटी बनती है कि किसान के साथ खड़ा हो.
तो क्या करूं, क्या करे राष्ट्र? क्या चाहते हैं आपकी दिल्ली के लोग या मुंबई के लोग? नहीं, आप क्या चाहते हैं? दिल्ली के लोग और मुंबई के लोग अपनी जेब से पैसे निकाल के किसानों को भेज दें? सरकार नहीं करेगी कुछ?
ऐसा नहीं है,
किसानों को तो कोई ब्लेम नहीं कर रहा. ये बात आप सुन लीजिए कमलजीत सिंह बरार जी. मेरा सवाल आपसे बड़ा सीधा था, मैं एक बार और पूछूंगी. कैप्टन अमरिंदर की सरकार क्या कर रही है? सवाल इतना है आपसे. ना मैंने किसानों को दोष दिया, ना मैंने किसी और को दोष दिया. मैं दोष सरकारों को दे रही हूँ, चाहे खट्टर की हो, आदित्यनाथ की हो, या कैप्टन अमरिंदर की हो, या केजरीवाल की हो, या केंद्रीय सरकार हो. सवाल सरकारों से पूछा जा रहा है, लोगों पे आप ब्लेम ना डालें.
नहीं, लोगों पे ब्लेम नहीं डाल रहे. आप लोग, सब लोग दिल्ली वाले बैठे बोल रहे हैं कि पंजाब से पोल्यूशन आ रहा है, पंजाब का किसान पोल्यूशन फैला रहा है.
कहां से आ रहा है
धुआं? बात कर रहा हूं.
तो बॉम्बे से तो नहीं आग जल रही?
मैंने बोला नहीं, तो मैंने बोला ना, दिवाली की रात क्यों 1100 था हमारे शहरों में? तो हमारे शहरों में आप एंकर हैं, आप एंकर हैं जो बोल रहे हैं। तन्वी जी का सवाल का जवाब दे दूं, तन्वी जी का जवाब दे दूंगा। आप एंकर नहीं है, आप मत बोलिए बीच में। कि पंजाब की गवर्नमेंट ने एक नया कॉम्बिनेशन निकाला है, सुपर
You know, this is such a... Tanvi, can I just come in?
No, 1 minute, please. Can I just listen to what he has to say and I will come to you, Ira. Yes, yes.
सर, आप
कमलजीत सिंह
time
बराड़
waste
जी,
कर रहे हो सबका।
जल्दी बताइए, आप क्या कह रहे थे? पंजाब सरकार ने क्या किया है?
पंजाब सरकार ने पहले तो अवेयरनेस कैंप लगाए, एक जीओजी संस्था बनाई है, एक अपॉइंट किया हुआ है आदमी, एक गांव में एक आदमी, पंजाब गवर्नमेंट का सरकारी।
हाँ।
तो उनको अवेयरनेस कैंप लगाए हैं, ठीक है। जितने रह गए हैं अवेयरनेस कैंप की वजह से, देखिए पहले प्यार से अवेयरनेस से समझाया, किसानों को भी समझाया, सब लोगों को भी समझाया, ऐड के जरिए समझाया, और उसके बाद सख्ताई की गई है, किसानों के ऊपर केस दर्ज किए गए हैं, और उनकी सब्सिडी भी वापस की गई है।
तो ना नहीं आप मतलब आप हमें सिखा रहे थे कमलजीत बराड़ जी कि आप हमें कह रहे थे कि किसानों को मत ब्लेम करो, और आपने किसानों को फाइन कर दिया। पूरे साल मुझे बताइए, अवेयरनेस पूरे साल क्यों नहीं फैलाई?
बोल रहा हूँ ना,
आप पिछले 1 साल में क्या कर रहे थे? पिछले 1 साल में अवेयरनेस क्यों नहीं फैलाई? अभी क्यों याद आ रहा है?
पिछले 3-2.5 साल से अवेयरनेस हो रही है। पिछले 2.5 साल से जीओजी एक पर्पस के लिए रखा हुआ है, एक गांव में अवेयरनेस हो रही है। मेरी बात सुनिए।
कभी भी आप फेल ही हो गए ना, फिर से फेल हो गए, फिर से फेल हो गए।
किसान को इस चक्कर से निकालने की जरूरत है। सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट को चाहिए कि फसली चक्कर, जो धान का चक्कर, इससे निकाल ही दिया जाए किसान को।
सर
तो
बहुत सिंपल है।
होती है। और आप
yes. Jayadhar, go ahead please, and then I'll go to Harish.
Jayadhar, you have failed, sir. Your Congress government has failed. I'm sorry, there is no excuse. Mr. Brar, you have failed. There is no excuse, sir. The solution is very simple. Incentivize good behavior. फार्मर को 100 रुपए क्विंटल चाहिए, दो फार्मर को यार, कुछ नहीं कॉस्ट है उसका। आप देखो इस धुएं का क्या कॉस्ट है, हेल्थ केयर कॉस्ट आप देखिए, कितने लोग मर रहे हैं यहाँ दिल्ली में नहीं, यूपी में, बिहार में, आपके पंजाब में। तो आपकी सरकार क्या कर रही है सर? 6 साल से साल बाय साल।
नहीं, दिल्ली की सरकार कुछ करे। दिल्ली में मर रहे हैं, पंजाब में नहीं मर रहे हैं। भाई मैं बोल रहा हूँ, पंजाब में कम है
सर।
तो पंजाब में, अगर पंजाब में पराली की,
तो पंजाब में लोग मर रहे हैं, आप फिर भी कुछ नहीं कर रहे। मतलब पंजाब में लोग मर रहे हैं, आप फिर भी कुछ नहीं कर रहे।
आप
क्या बचेगा?
मैं पंजाब में रहता हूँ, हम लोग पंजाब में रहते हैं, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है हम लोग।
नहीं, मुझे पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज के जो स्पोक्सपर्सन है उनकी क्या हालत है, हमें कोई इंटरेस्ट नहीं है। आप लोग एसी के कमरों में रहिए, एयर प्यूरिफायर लगाइए, आप लोगों को क्या फर्क पड़ने वाला है? जो सड़क पे चल रहा है, जो खेतों में काम कर रहा है, जो रोज निकल के धुआं धक्कड़ में ट्रेन में लटक के ऑफिस जा रहा है, उन लोग की चिंता है हमें, पॉलिटिशियंस की चिंता नहीं है। Harish Khurana, what are you saying? Go ahead, Harish Khurana.
About solutions.
Can I please?
I just Google it. Tanvi, I just
Harish Khurana, can I please hear? Kamaljeet, 1 minute रुकिए। Harish Khurana कुछ कह रहे हैं।
Air quality.
सुनते नहीं है, फिर आप सुनो, जवाब लो ना। बीजेपी वाले भाई, आपकी बारी आएगी तो बोले ना।
नहीं, बीजेपी वाले आपको जवाब देंगे, मुझे उनका सवाल जवाब सुनना है।
Index right now is.
हवा चलने का मतलब है।
अरे yes, what is the index right now? Yes.
Tanvi is 429.
Yes.
And 40 kilometers away from Delhi, which is Sonipat Kaithal, is 194. If the stubble burning is only the cause in Delhi, then why the stubble burning is 40 kilometers away from
Please tell me,
Delhi,
Harish Khurana, who on this panel, or
don't
if
laugh.
I have
The same
which line on the channel, which line might be the anchor, which of the panelists has said stubble burning is the only reason? You have not given me a single answer as to what you're doing to stop stubble burning. So please stop this blame game. I'm now going to go across to our citizen voices one by one, and I want to have a constructive conversation. I'm not interested in this blame game by politicians. Ira Trivedi needs to make a point, and then I will go across to our other two panelists to ask what is the solution to this problem. Yes, Ira first.
You know, I think I'm just watching this debate and listening to it and getting so disheartened because I don't think the politicians understand what's going on. It's become an infighting between political parties, and what we are going through is a national health crisis. Yes, Delhi is at emergency levels. Children are unable to step out and go to school. Old people are suffering from terrible asthma, coughing. Hospitals are full. But all many other North Indian states are also suffering from the same problem. Varanasi actually had at some point taken over pollution levels. All around us, even in Punjab, Ludhiana, Amritsar, they have unhealthy levels of pollution. Even Mumbai, Tamil Nadu, even in the south, there's unhealthy levels of pollution. So we are going through a national crisis. And
Yes.
what we see today is politicians infighting, and this is exactly the reason why there are no solutions. Year after year after year. The news of bad air broke about 5 years ago, but this problem has been happening for more than a decade. We just didn't know about it. It just got mainstream reporting about a few years ago. And it's only going to get worse, and everyone is going to suffer. Each one of us is going to suffer if there is not cooperation between all political parties. The central government needs to declare this as an emergency situation. And everyone needs to cooperate to solve this.
Yes.
And this show has just proven to me why we have this problem and why there have been no solutions.
And unfortunately, perhaps if the Supreme Court doesn't act and maybe start jailing officials and pulling up and fining governments, the situation is not going to change, Ira. This blame game between the three sides or the four sides is going to continue. But Anita Bhargava, the whole debate about, what's choking North India? There are multiple reports, and different reports seem to be suggesting different things about the extent of contribution from stubble burning. But can we deny that it is a big problem, even in Uttar Pradesh, even in Haryana and Punjab? I mean, if you look at the top 20 cities, the many are from Uttar Pradesh, and probably in a worse off place than national capital tonight.
Look, I think, Tanvi, the fortunate thing is that in air pollution, every single reason is identifiable. You know today that 48% of the air pollution is from stubble, and you knew that it was zero like in September, right? So there's no debate on things like this. I would just request anchors like you, channels like yours, and every other channel to not bring politicians to discuss this stuff. It's a waste of time. People are tired of listening to the same thing again and again. You could bring EPCA, CPCB, DPCC, all these people, get Bhurelal on television and ask him why and you'll soon figure that all these things, all these agencies are just behaving like monitors. They're not fining the municipalities. They're not doing anything other than monitoring. They're producing monitoring reports. And you're never going to find a solution if all you're getting is reports that there were 2,000 fires and there were 5,000.
Why is that? And is it because they are not empowered enough? Their only job is to give reports?
EPCA is empowered by the Supreme Court. It does not believe it's empowered, okay? So if you are empowered but you don't believe that you're empowered, you don't fine the municipalities, okay? Why hasn't EPCA fined NDMC, MCD, etc.? If there was, why was Bhurelal's meeting today to pull up the municipal commissioners? Why didn't this happen 6 months ago? Why didn't he place a hefty fine 6 months ago and ask for a monthly progress report, right? So these people need to be pulled up, and you will soon discover that none of them believe that they're empowered to find the municipalities. And that's where we have a problem. We need one single capable, empowered CEO for clean air. That's it.
Yes. Often we see, and there is a similar example in Mumbai,
like
where we have different authorities which are responsible.
We need a central committee for clean air.
Yes. We have different authorities responsible for the infrastructure in Mumbai,
like
and it's crumbling. Because this is the same thing that they do. One government or one authority points fingers at the other one points fingers back at this one, and this blame game continues. And similar demand of a central authority is being made even here. Now, Jayadhar, is that something that can be seriously looked at, and who will do it? Does the onus again come on the central government, or can we expect maybe the court to actually look into it?
Well, it's quite clear to me that we have no government in this country. Look at the shameful behavior on national television. Today, this city, this country, and the whole world has seen the state of politics and the state of government in this country. Absolutely pathetic and absolutely shameful. Anyway, I just want to say that this whole problem of air pollution, we are not the first country or the first city to face it. This has been faced by many countries and cities for centuries and decades. And the fix to this, I want to talk about 3 solutions because it's important. Number 1, we know all the sources of emissions. We have done a source apportionment study 4 years ago. The majority of the emissions in Delhi, if we talk just about Delhi, we know every month what the percentage emissions, where they are coming from. We just need to attack those sources of emission. It's like a relentless, committed, consistent effort that needs to go into that. I don't know why we are focusing on graded response action plan. I don't want there to be an emergency in my city. I want a government who understands how to solve the problem. The only way to solve the problem is by reversing air pollution, not by reacting when there's an emergency. Number 2, the bigger principle to solve air pollution, very simple. Incentivize good behavior and penalize bad behavior. A very good example of that is paddy burning. You penalize bad behavior by banning, paddy burning in Punjab and said, we're going to fine you, we're going to file FIRs against you. Hasn't worked. Just give them 100 rupees a bloody quintal and they're going to stop burning the paddy. It just makes sense. Number 3, let's do what Beijing has done. The entire government is moving 150 kilometers out of Beijing. Let's just move the goddamn pollution out of this city. The government is the pollution. Let's pick them up and move them out. Really, we'll all be much better off for it.
I just want to read this out because this is just being put out on the agencies, and this is Mr. Javadekar, the Environment Minister, who spoke today about this issue. And I don't know if Mr. Harish Khurana is still with us. I think he got a little upset with the way questions were being asked to politicians. But here's Union Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar, who said that stubble burning has contributed up to 40% of the pollution in Delhi on some days in the last fortnight. But blaming and cursing one another will not help. He also exuded confidence that new technologies will help contain the menace of stubble burning and reduce pollution. So here is a central minister who himself is admitting that it is a big cause. And nobody is saying it's the only cause. But I don't know what he's so confident about new technologies, because we need the solution today. We actually needed the solution yesterday, and that's not happened. Let me go across to a few of our viewers also calling us from the national capital is Suraj. Thank you for patiently waiting by, Suraj. Go ahead. What would you like to say? Okay, Suraj patiently waited for a while and then probably that line got disconnected. But Ashish also calling us from Delhi. Ashish, go ahead.
Yeah, can everybody hear me?
Yes, I can.
So, first of all, I would like to start with saying that shame on you all guys, all the politicians, shame on you. Shame on BJP, shame on AAP, shame on Congress. All these 3 guys are just fighting with each other. See the way they are fighting over this platform. I mean, if they can't even have consensus here in this platform, how can you expect them to be giving us any solution to breathe? My wife is not able to breathe properly. My kid is not able to go to school. And who is responsible for this? These 3 guys who are sitting here. It's like bullshit guys. They are just don't know what to do and or how to do. They are just giving excuses. For the past 4 years, they are giving excuses without any solution. I mean, my kid is not able to go to school. Why? Because of these 3 guys sitting here. And they say that the others are having a problem. If they can't have consensus here, I'm sorry, they can't have consensus anywhere. They just will be doing it every year like this. And I'm sorry that I'm living in such a country where these politicians are ruining our life. I'm sorry to say this.
I completely understand what you're saying. Thank you, Ashish, for calling. Suraj is back on the phone line with us. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, let me just see. There's been a lot of negativity on the show, so I just wanted to lighten it up. 1958, my father used to study in London, and he mentioned to me that when in London he used to stick his hand out from any moving bus or vehicle, he couldn't see his hand. That was the state of London in 1958. Today, its AQI, average AQI, is in the healthy zone. So not all is lost. My only request to every single politician on this show is, even today, please bury the hatchet and start working amongst yourselves like we do in the corporate sector. Let me just share a few solutions which can be done today. I mean, a complete cracker ban, full year, just do that. That one thing, if you do a cracker ban, even procurement of crackers from the factory are stopped today. You will fix the problem for next year. $500 million for stubble collection and disposal and production of green energy. You can do that today. Every single farmer has an Aadhaar card and an account. You can transfer the subsidy directly to the farmer today. Third, look at the construction and debris littered all over Delhi. I mean, this is to the Aam Aadmi Party. What have you done to pick up the construction? You go down to South X, you go to any part of Delhi. There is so much of construction debris. Couldn't you have picked that up in the last 4 years that you've been in power, 4.5, 5 years? This is in Delhi, the national capital. So please remove that construction debris. And number 4, plant trees all over the state, all over Punjab, all over Haryana, all over UP. Plants which just take out all the pollutants from the atmosphere. You do these 4 to 5 things,
yes,
you'll fix the problem. Back to you.
Yes, points very well made, Suraj. Thank you for calling and sharing your views. These are voices coming in from the national capital, and I'm glad that Suraj, in such difficult times, in such polluted times, was also able to find some humor and bring us a lighter moment. I'm completely out of time, so I'm going to thank all of our panelists for joining us tonight. But if one thing that has become clear tonight and has repeatedly been brought to the fore by Mirror Now is the fact that it's the political parties who don't have the commitment, who are really not interested in solving the problem. They're only interested in political games, in blame game, and year after year it is the same story. Yes, some of these governments have taken some steps, but that's because of the media outrage. That's because people are outraging out there on the streets asking questions. That's because the courts are repeatedly asking them questions, right from the National Green Tribunal to the Supreme Court. And after all of this, if you manage to take a few steps, you don't deserve a pat on the back. You still deserve to be questioned. And you need to answer us. Imagine a situation where only a handful of days throughout the year, only a handful of days out of 365 days, does the national capital see average air quality. It becomes more clear, it gets highlighted more in the winter season when more contributing factors arise. But it's an all year long problem. The governments don't care. They only wake up come September end. Why? Why is this not important to our political parties is a question that the viewers must also think about. Maybe we need to make this an election agenda so that they realize that national health is important, environment is important, and such levels of pollution is not acceptable. Thank you so much for joining us on this conversation. Like I said, it is going to be an action-packed day in the Supreme Court tomorrow, November the 14th. Top court will pronounce its verdict on a batch of review petitions against its own order on the entry of women in Sabarimala temple. Now, last year, viewers, you will remember, the top court had paved the way for equality of gender after Sabarimala was asked to open its doors for everyone. Male, female, of all age groups. Tomorrow, the Apex Court will now give its verdict on as many as 65 petitions. These were filed after the order that came out last year. Now, you will all remember, despite the Supreme Court order, when it was time for the Sabarimala temple to open its doors for devotees, for believers, there were massive protests. Women who attempted to enter the temple were pretty much not allowed to. The protesters were out there on the streets. It became a big battle. It became a big battle between people, between political parties, between various religious outfits, believers and non-believers and all kinds. And which is why this case ended back in the top court. Tomorrow, we will get to hear from the Supreme Court whether they have decided to stick to their decision of allowing all women, even those between the age of 4 and 55, or if they've decided to overturn their decision. Let's say good evening to our panelists and just do a quick refresher on what these pleas were, what did the court hear, and what's really at stake here. Deepa Rahul Ishwar, spokesperson for Save Sabarimala, joining us this evening, and also Geeta Luthra, senior advocate of the Supreme Court. And Geeta, let's begin with you. Because, you know, this is a fairly a legal point before I come to the religious aspect of it. The fact of the matter is that there were almost 50, 60 petitions, you know, after the Supreme Court verdict. Do you see this as a battle between religious belief and equality?
So I don't think it's a battle between religious beliefs and equality, because I really believe that if you're restricting the age groups and saying, you know, say 10 to 50 or menstruating women can't enter the temple, then you're not really talking about a religious belief. A religious belief saying a deity is a celibate may not want non-celibate men to come. So, I mean, that can't be an argument that men can enter and menstruating women can't, because the man should be then celibate. The woman between 10 or 15 to 50 may be celibate. So, where do you draw the line? I feel that this is a new argument or a nuance of an argument which is being given, and that's all. So I really think that it's not a religious belief versus equality. I mean, these practices in various parts of India of not allowing women who are menstruating into temples because they are considered pure, not pure, etc., may have been the original argument.
Yes.
So the argument's been refined, to my mind.
Okay, let me ask Deepa this.
It's not tenable.
Okay, let me ask Deepa this. Deepa, I also saw a statement, you know, from the Travancore board, which says that whatever the verdict is, we will accept the verdict, you know, whatever the Supreme Court decides. But effectively, what we saw last year, Deepa, was irrespective of what the Supreme Court had decided and ruled, people on streets were not able to accept it or change their mindset. Do you think that is a larger problem that we are facing tonight?
Not at all. I think the larger problem that we're facing right now is the lack of knowledge of why a particular temple is the way it is. I think that's the biggest problem, because if those people out there in the public had not protested, this would have just died a slow death, and this whole thing would not have even been reached the Supreme Court for a review petition. It would have just, okay, we accept the verdict. Today it's the Sabrimala, tomorrow it would be another temple, or tomorrow it might be another church or a mosque. So this is a matter of understanding why a particular temple works the way it is, why a certain mantras are spoken or certain mantras are actually told in a particular temple to a particular deity, why one deity is different from another deity. I think this lack of knowledge is the biggest problem we are facing right now, because otherwise all of us look at it through just one lens, and that lens is the Constitution. How can you look at religion through the eyes of Constitution alone? I'm not saying we are above Constitution, but you cannot look at something like religion, which developed centuries before, only through the eyes of the clauses of a Constitution. There might be different rituals which is performed different ways, but unless it is socially or physically hazardous to the particular person, how can you consider it has to be removed because it's not in line with the Constitution? What is a woman losing because she has to wait until the age of 50 to enter the Sabrimala temple? Is it a threat to her life? Is it that her education is lost? Is it that she is physically abused? Nothing of that sort. It's just that she has to wait till 50 years, or she would have gone before the age group of 10. And that is because she has to be a devotee of that particular deity. Unfortunately or fortunately, the deity at Sabrimala happened to be a male deity, which is why this restriction is on the women. But then if the deity was a female deity, this restriction would have been on the men. So there is no gender discrimination in Sabrimala at all. Both men and women enter Sabrimala equally. The only regulation is on the age for women, because the deity is a male, and more importantly, the deity's concept, or when the Tantri had established the deity there, the character of the deity was established as celibate. And And this temple is situated at a hilltop region, so that it is a prescription for men to observe a 41-day celibate penance. So my fellow panelists were saying that how do you know if a man is celibate or not? We do not have a machine, ma'am. We do not have a machine. All we can do is set a guideline and expect that everyone's following it. But because we do not have a machine to check if a man is celibate, you cannot just allow women also, young women also, to enter. That's not a reason to allow young women to enter. Sabrimala works on a particular guideline, and that guideline is closely related to the right of the deity there, the character of the deity there, which is celibate. If you're not ready to accept that the deity there is celibate, then might as well not call ourselves a devotee and someone who wants to worship the particular deity. I do not understand why is it that.
So, so the deity is celibate.
Yeah.
But is it defined somewhere? Is it written in the scriptures? At what point, Deepa, and this is just for my own understanding, was it decided that just because he is celibate, women of a particular age cannot be anywhere near him? After all, these are devotees. After all, they're only going there to worship and pay their respects.
So what is this 41-day penance that all the male Ayyappas, all the male devotees who go to Sabrimala are referred to as Ayyappas, okay? So all these Ayyappas who go to Sabrimala, what is this 41-day penance that they're observing? It's also a penance of celibate itself. I mean, they are also supposed to be celibate, like what my fellow panelists had said. They're supposed to stay away from any sort of relationship with the wife. The wife actually stays away from the husband and all that. So don't you think that the ultimatum of all that 41-day penance is their visit to the Sabrimala temple? So that temple has a guideline which is stricter than the 41-day penance that every devotee is supposed to follow.
Okay.
So that is a guideline there. If every man is following it at home, then Sabrimala, which is the final destination of that penance, where it's supposed to end, that particular area is supposed to be away from any young women. Now what is the whole problem? Young women can go to so many other Ayyappa temples. There are so many temples where men are not allowed.
So you have explained to us.
This is the way any church function.
Okay.
This cannot be considered through the eyes of discrimination alone.
Okay, you have explained to us the religious aspect of it and the belief that many obviously have, because those are the people who came out on the streets, including women. Geeta Luthra, would you want to respond to what Deepa is raising here as a matter of belief?
So, there's something which is interesting, which was said in Ayodhya.
Yes.
In the Ayodhya verdict, which I think is something which was unusual, and the court says that belief cannot be proved, belief is belief, you know, and therefore they say that the Hindus have a belief that Ram Mandir was here. So, and the court says that that can't be something which may be empirically proved or not. Now, so that's one argument that can be made. But I don't agree with the argument that because a man has to do 41-day celibacy and therefore he can visit the temple, why can't a woman be asked to do 41 days celibacy and visit the temple? So my point is that the arguments are flawed. These are arguments which are afterthought. These are arguments which have been made to reinforce what has been a religious practice. Question is that practice something which is justiciable in the aspect that is it actually taking away from the fact, is this just an argument from the fact that menstruating women were not expected to go to temples, not expected to go to kitchens, and so on and forth? So is the practice emanating from that? Why should men who are in the prime of their age be allowed if it's a celibate god? If they can practice celibacy, so can women. So why would you expect that women don't have that ability or men have that ability? I'm sorry, the arguments are flawed. Therefore, to say that this argument, therefore, there's no issue of equality, I am finding problems with the argument and the logic.
So, Geeta Luthra, I'll get a response from Deepa on that
being
in just
manifested over a period of time in the reviews.
Yes, and like you said, you know, from the beginning till towards the end, some of these arguments and the benchmarks also changed, or at least that's what many people understood it and saw it as. But before that, there is one very important thing that is now being raised repeatedly since the Ayodhya verdict has come out. And because in the Ayodhya verdict, the Supreme Court has actually gone on to say that suit 5 has been held to be maintainable at the behest of the first plaintiff, the deity of Lord Ram, who is a juristic person. Now, is that, many expect that to have some kind of bearing in this case as well, where it can be considered that Lord Ayyappa is also a deity, a juristic person, and so his rights under Article 25 should also be factored in, and what he wants. So, Geeta Luthra, do you expect that the Ayodhya verdict and what has been said by the Supreme Court could have a bearing on, yes, could have a bearing on the verdict tomorrow?
So Supreme Court, I don't think so, not at all.
Okay.
But because the two judgments are by different benches, are being given in concurrent times, so one judgment would not have a bearing when they are coming so close on the heels of the other judgment. But this aspect of the deity, if I recall correctly, in fact, the court says it's not a juristic person, which in fact, otherwise, according to religion, a deity is a juristic person. I don't think that argument actually affects the question with regard to Article 14 or other provisions of the Constitution. I think the larger question is that the dissenting judgment of Justice Indu Malhotra as compared to the other 4 members of the bench, where she says, look, it's a matter of religion, and if it's a religious belief or a religious practice, question is how far do we go into justiciability in terms of equality. That's the larger question, and then the larger question has to be tested in terms of the arguments that have been presented. To my mind, the arguments that are being presented in favor of not letting women go there till the age of 50 are arguments which are flawed. Those arguments are being made to buttress the fact that they are not being allowed to go, and those arguments can't stand the test because basically the logic which is being given that because this is a celibate God, therefore you can't have women of these ages go in, can equally apply to men who are in the prime of their life.
Okay.
So if they can be celibate, women can be.
Okay,
so
Deepa, you can respond to that.
The arguments are flawed, and therefore this religious belief is not logical.
Okay, yeah. Deepa Rao Ishu can respond to that before I wrap this up. Go ahead, please.
No, that's what I said in the beginning, that, you know, the deity at Sabrimala is a male deity, and celibacy is something that has to be maintained from the opposite gender. So when the deity is a male deity, this regulation of age happens to the women between the age group of 10 and 50. If the deity was female and the female celibacy was the character of the deity at that point, then the same thing would have applied to men. So why do you think that it is not that, you know, you have to practice celibacy is the problem? Women can equally practice celibacy as men. Women are equally capable of practicing celibacy as men are. But the problem is, at Sabrimala, the person, because for the lack of another word, the person in concern here is Lord Ayyappa himself, and it's a male deity there, and the male deity there to practice celibacy, the whole idea is that after a practice of 41 days of penance of celibacy, when men reach an ultimatum or the final stage of ending their penance, that surrounding should be away from the opposite gender of that particular youth age group. Now this number of 10 and 50, there needs to be some guideline, which is why that number is kept there. But the fact fact is not about menstruation. It's about young women staying away from men during the practice of celibacy. That is what is being practiced in every house during this 41-day penance. That is exactly what is being practiced at Sabrimala when the final deity himself is at the supremacy of his celibate penance.
Okay.
So that is why the opposite gender should be away at their prime age.
Well,
So
celibacy, and if somebody is actually taking, and I'm not talking
this is
about
something which.
Yeah, I'm just saying that if somebody is taking a vow of celibacy, then no amount of people being around or no amount of temptation should be able to change that. And, you know, it's just that logic that I find difficult to accept. But of course, it doesn't matter whether I do or not. What matters is what the Supreme Court decides tomorrow. Thank you so much to both the ladies for joining us tonight on this conversation. The big decision from the Supreme Court on the review of the Sabrimala verdict comes tomorrow morning at 10:30, and we're all going to be here starting 8 a.m. getting you all the updates, all reactions. You'll be here when the verdict comes out. We will help you understand what the Supreme Court has decided and just what it means. So stay with us here on Mirror Now, and just after that, like I said, is also the Rafale verdict. The review in the Rafale verdict where Supreme Court was also filed. That decision comes right after the Sabrimala verdict. It's going to be a super packed day tomorrow morning. Stay with us here on Mirror Now. Completely out of time on this edition of the Urban Debate.